right, guys. All right, I think we've got this thing kind of figured out now. Guys, again, apologize for all this craziness that's going on. I had some visitors, and it gets kind of crazy when I have other boats around me. Sorry, it just takes a lot of my attention. We'll try to get this thing set back up again. Nothing is easy, guys. Absolutely nothing is easy. The whole thing in a nutshell, I'm trying to get some of the shot back in here where you guys can see the VB. All right, slide over here a little bit. Guys, I apologize for the problems. It looks like we may have gotten that. I've had nothing but issues tonight from trying to load today's video to trying to get this shot out for you guys where you can see the operation firsthand. We're getting really close. I was trying to do it outside the boat with so you guys could really see it, but everybody says it's too noisy. They can't hear anything because of the wave action, and you can see it's really starting to pick up. The boat's really starting to rock and roll, and that's gonna continue. Chance of rain tonight, but we're here because we think that section 2 is going to be separated from the Golden Ray tonight. We think that's going to happen. Shout out to everybody that has tried to tune in. We again apologize for the delay, but we are back again. Hello. Well, we haven't seen the Kurt J. Crosby out here. That was usually our indicator that something was going to happen, but they haven't been out here. Usually they come out and kind of scout around the site before they bring in the barge. And if everybody remembers, the Julie B. barge, which took away the first section, the bow section of the Golden Ray, and took it over to Gibson, Louisiana. They brought the barge back. It's in the Port of Brunswick, and I understand it's kind of been moved around and staged to be deployed out to the site, hopefully as early as in the morning, and receive this second section of the Golden Ray. If you remember the Julie B, they constructed some cradles on that ship to actually, when they sat it down on the barge, they set it down on that cradle, and it kind of leans over on that cradle a little bit, and that gives it support. And then they run it back over into Brunswick where the crew's finished sea fastening it, welding it, attaching whatever it is, gussets or whatnot to the steel from the deck of the Julie B to the section, and prepare it for its eventual trip over to the Gulf of Mexico and up to Gibson, Louisiana. So it's going to be out in the ocean. They got to really sea fast that thing and make sure that it's not going to topple off the barge in transit. So all that's been done, and the barge is ready to come out to the site once it's picked up. We're gonna. The Princess fire. You know, I think they're looking at that. I'm sure they're still investigating it. There's rumors that it's possibly a cigarette or electrical issue, but you know, they had security out there. They had watchman security guy out there doing security work. So the watchman was there. Nothing suspicious in nature, I guess, is happened with the fire, but it's pretty rough for the area to see that happen. That Emerald Princess brings in a lot of folks into the area. You know, we usually see it out here, but they've suspended their operations, I guess, until they can get some sort of temporary office space set up where they can handle their patrons and get them checked in. I'm going to need a bigger boat. That's a great thought. The bigger the boat you have, the bigger the problems you have. So we're content here with the 21-foot Parker. It seems to fit our needs well. Particularly out here, we do have a little pilot house in here, so we can kind of get out of the wind, get out of the weather. It makes it pretty comfortable. Occasionally, we do have to stay on here and catch a little nap in between naps or shots of the chain, just checking cameras and things. But yeah, we're pretty content right here. They're getting really close, Tim. And I gotta again, and I'll probably do this 5 times tonight. I gotta apologize for the video tonight. I had it all set, was trying to load it, and the computer had one of those moments, and it locked up, and I actually lost the video from today. The one I compiled. I still have all the raw feeds, so I got to go back and I got to put it back together again. But I know where we're going with it. We got some neat things on it, and we're going to try to get that back out to you guys. It's just going to be a little late. I hope this suffices for a little while we watch this, and as we continue to watch the chains walk across the deck here of the Golden Ray. They're close. You know, some of the guys that just pulled up said 3 hours. One of the guys on the boat said 10 o'clock. I said 2:30 this morning. We're prepared. We got some Pop-Tarts on board, and we got a couple drinks, so we're prepared to stay for a while and watch and see how this operation goes. Yeah. Yasmin, I don't think I want a Jeep off the Golden Ray. From what I've seen coming out of there from the video we've seen, you know, there might be a handful of them in there that might still operate, but I'm not sure I would want them just from the standpoint that they've been kind of suspended over salt water for the past year and a half. I don't know what that's done to the inside of the engines or the camshafts or the lifters or any of that those good moving parts that are kind of down in there that you can't see so well. I'm sure that there are some that are probably salvageable. I'm not sure that I would want to take a chance with one. So yeah. Yeah, there's going to be a few dents in them. You know, we saw those ones that were coming off the ship that were being handled by the grabber, and you know, I guess you could get them off there a little without damaging them as much, but I don't think you could do it in a manner which allows as much safety as that. You don't want guys inside this thing. You can see as that chain moves through those decks. You know, some of those decks kind of float, and they can adjust those decks depending on what it is they're hauling. If they have a tall vehicle, they can raise them, and if they have lower vehicles, they can lower those things. Try to maximize the space inside the ship for the cargo. And some of those decks kind of float around. Some of them are fixed. The weather deck's fixed. got to be fixed. That's the thickest part that coming off the hull, that deck that's the thickest. She's sealed up. That's what keeps the ship watertight. It's just unfortunate they had problems with either loading or ballast issues or something on the way out, and the ship rolled over. Tugs pushed it up here on the sandbar, and here we are today, some year and a half plus later, still trying to get it out of here. It's a mountain of a job. We get that. I just wish that we had a better understanding of what was going on with the operation and the planning, and we kind of told a lot of things kind of didn't pan out. Unfortunately. Yeah. Tim, a little Flex Seal. Flex Seal is an amazing product. I wonder if they could have sealed the vents up and floated the Golden Ray out with the Flex Seal. Interesting concept. Hey, Mike from the UK. Thanks. Yeah, we're back up running. The thing is, when you have a problem, it's how you respond to it. And we were able to get back on. Again, sorry for the delay. And we actually have a pad that's working now where we can read comments and kind of comment back on there. And did they ever determine the cause of the ship rolling over? I haven't heard an official word of what happened with the ship it's on its way out. I know that from a first-hand account from a guy that I knew, a friend of mine who was actually on one of the tugs when that ship was pulled away. They thought it had a list to it when it left, and from what I understand, the master of the ship told them it was going to be straightened out. They would deal with it, and the ship rolled over when it made that hard right coming out to the channel, right in the sound between Jekyll and St. Simon's Island. There were some crewmen that were trapped inside the ship. That of course became the priority, was a rescue. They got everyone off the ship. They got the guys out of the ship. It took a day or so to get those guys out. They had to cut into the hull to go in there and get to them. And you can imagine, that's got to be a crazy event where the floor is now the wall. You got these vehicles, some still strapped, some are broken loose. It was a pretty large fire inside the ship. I know that when we came out that Sunday morning after it rolled over, we were out just about daybreak. It looked like a barbecue grill with smoke. With every spot that had an opening had smoke coming out of it. The guys that were trapped in the ship were very lucky to make it out, just from that standpoint, that they were able to avoid the smoke for such a long period of time, and they were eventually gotten to with rescue crews and pulled out. And that was pretty nerve-wracking to know those guys, while you're there, know those guys were still trapped in that ship and waiting for rescue. Gravity, yes, gravity rolled it over. Gravity did roll it over. Gravity wins every time, my friends, whether it's centrifugal or it really doesn't matter. It'll win. The first company I hired said they would be done by now. Any idea of the method they were going to use? Yeah, sure. I know the discussion that was made with those guys. Those guys were going to kind of peel the top of the ship back, bring in cranes, and lift out the contents, cars, whatever. Get the cars out, get whatever they could get out. The decks, they would pull those out until they got down to a hull, and then work on cutting those pieces and getting those pieces out of there. But the difference being that everything would have been contained inside the hull. a lot of questions about hull integrity. We've seen a crack that was in the hull earlier on some of the photos that were released by Unified Command. You know, with how, I don't know when the cracks developed. I don't know how far along in the process the other operation would have been in removing the cars. As they removed the weight off the ship, would have taken the load off of it and the hull not cracked. I don't know. The thing is, with the other operation, everything would theoretically been contained inside the hull of the ship until it was all removed, cleaned up, and then the hull would have been removed, lessening the environmental impact of the area. Because I know you guys have seen the video. You know, we're literally, I mean, we're half a mile away from Jekyll Island, and probably less than that from St. Simon's Island. And then once you get towards the west from those islands, you're immediately into the estuary, marsh, oyster beds, you know, fish breeding areas, and all that kind of thing. So the environmental concern is really big, and it probably would have made a huge difference if it could have worked like that. At the time, I guess they were more anxious to get it out of here, and then COVID hit. There were some problems. They didn't want to get started during the storm season. Everything kind of stacked up, so the arrival of the VB was delayed by 3 months. All those things kind of stacked up against them, and we are where we are now with the situation. It's been the ship's been rolled over on its side as a wrecked junkyard way too long here where I like to fish and where I like to go to the beach. Should have been gone. It needs to leave. It needs to get out of here. It needs to go. So whatever it takes, let's get it out of here. Let's get it done, and move forward. It's everything else is we could speculate Monday morning quarterback on so many different things, but where we are now is we've got a ship that's opened up on two ends with, you know, about 3,000 plus cars on it. Some of them are burnt. You don't know what kind of oil line. It's just get it out of here. It's time for it to go. Let's see here. We got stuff hitting the floor in the boat. It's starting to pick up. The tide has been running in for a while here, and it's getting higher. And we're expecting a little weather to come in possibly tomorrow. So as this front starts to slide, we're probably going to see an increase in the wind. And we don't know how that's going to play in the operation. We hope it doesn't hurt this cutting operation tonight. We're ready to see this thing happen and get cut. Yeah, Christine, it is choppy. It hasn't started white capping out here yet, but that's probably coming. The waves are definitely building, starting to get a little swell in here, and I'm trying to roll this wheel. Maybe you guys trying to keep the VB back there so you guys can at least understand exactly where we are. We are live at the site and kind of taking your questions and just talking about the upcoming lift, because we are very close. We're very close to seeing this section 2 get cut through. A matter of hours, and we're expecting to see that chain pop through to the top side of the Golden Rig. Yeah, the cost of this thing, I guess there's been some articles out there regarding the cost of the operation from the day it rolled over until we're at now. It's in the hundreds of millions of dollars, and of course I don't know who's tallying all those bills. I'm sure that the insurance company that's responsible for it has got a pretty good idea what it costs, but we haven't really heard exactly what that cost is yet. But yeah, it's significant. It is a significant amount of money to get the Golden Ray out of here. Is the casino ship still operational? No, they have suspended their operation. They they have no offices. They have no way of checking people in and putting them, getting them ready for embarkation on the ship, on the casino ship. So they are temporarily shut down. We hope that they can get their operation back up and get those guys back out. It's a large economic impact. There's a lot of folks that come in to take advantage of the gambling on the Emerald Princess here in the Brunswick area, and I'm hoping that they get back in operation very soon. Very soon. You know, I got a question about the divers. When we were on the way out here at just before 7 o'clock, of course, because we were running late again, the dive boat was on its way in, so it looked like they had stopped operations for the day, and they were headed back towards port. So I don't think we got any dive operations going on. I'm not saying there are not any divers on the VB 10,000 itself, may be ready to go in case there's a problem, but the boat that they use for the underwater work has departed the site. Okay, Section 7. Well, we just got a little bit of an update on Section 7. They're going to be pulling another chain underneath Section 7. Apparently, when the last one broke, it broke in a way where they were unable to get to it. Now, they've broken the chain several times since they've had the operation going on the first two cuts, and this one as well. Well, I don't know if they've broken a chain on this one or not. I have to look back and see. But they've been able to get back to the chain and get them pulled back together, and they put a connecting link in it, and they go back to work. Well, apparently this last time on Section 7, and Section 7, for those of you guys who may just be tuning in, that's that area that of the ship. Section 7 is going to contain the main propulsion unit, the big diesel engine, and there's just a tremendous amount of structural steel in there. And I think that they kind of maybe underestimated the strength of that, and they're working on it, but the chain broke, and it broke in a way where they couldn't get back to it. And we got a picture. I was supposed to be on the site tonight. They had a large jetting apparatus that they were taking off the barge, and that'll be hooked to water pumps and air compressors to help clean out an area underneath the ship where they can get a line underneath it and then pull a chain back through it. So hopefully that moves along as quickly as possible, and they can get back set, get the chain back in the groove, and start cutting again on Section 7. Because that's Section 7. As you remember, they were on that section for a month, and maybe 50% of the way through it, they were having a lot of trouble, a lot of resistance in that area of the ship. Now, I don't know if you're asking about how they originally got the chains underneath, which I know how this happened. They used horizontal boring technology, much like you might see on a city street, where they bore under the street. They use that same type of technology, just on a larger scale, and they went under the ship and tied you tie a line back to it, you pull it back through, tie it to the chain, and you drag it back under, and you set it on the deck, and they attach it to the deck to wait until the day that the VB showed up and was ready to take those chains and start cutting. The chains were actually put under the ship originally many months ago. Part of the preparation work that went into getting ready for the VB. All that work had taken place very early in the operation. 75 feet from the corner. Bill Lynn wants to know if there's a different method of cutting a ship compared to the chain used here. Yeah, there's some other chains we've seen. There's some videos on YouTube from the Tricolor. That's the a roll-on, roll-off ship that went down in the English Channel, and another salvage operation used as a wire cable and had bushings on it that were designed with hardened carbon, almost as hard as a diamond, and that system was used there. It couldn't be used here on this ship, not with this this machine, mainly because the wire itself can only stand a certain amount of angle before it separates, and in order for it to work here, the cable would have to be stretched out pretty far, and then it's kind of brought up in a systematic way where the wire itself kind of remains horizontal. It can only stand about a 30-degree angle. After that, there's problems with it separating, breaking, popping. It's just very unreliable. So yeah, there are other methods to cutting up a ship. The chain has been used for probably hundreds of years in ship salvage. Old wooden ships were cut with chains when they had to be. So it's proven technology. It works. It's just slow, and it can be sometimes frustratingly slow. Yeah, night is quickly creeping up on us. You can see the lights coming on the VB, and everything is starting to settle into night mode out here. We're starting to see a few white caps developing. We're expecting that's probably going to continue as the night progresses. We're going to try to stay here as long as we can, just because we really get a good vantage from this side of the ship. It would be, the water's going to be smoother over on the St. Simon Sound side of the wreck, or the north side. It's just that we'll be away, the ship will be between us and the cutting end. And we really want to see that thing separated so we can try to bring you guys some video of that operation when it happens. No, I think, Grub, Tim, I appreciate the offer. A steak would be delicious. I don't know how I would act with a steak dinner out here on the ship tonight. However, I think the Grubhub guy he's gonna find it quite a bit of a challenge to get it out here to me. But hey, thanks for the offer. That kind of makes me hungry when I think about it. Let's see. I'm just trying to scan through and see if I missed any questions from anybody on here. And if I missed a question from you, feel free to hit me again on the chat here so we can kind of keep it. If anybody's got any questions here, I'd love to try, if I can. I'm just trying to observe this thing, guys. I'm not a salvage expert. I'm born and raised here on St. Simon's. I'm actually 8th generation on the island. We've been here many years, and as we've had a few events that have happened regarding shipping here. Most notably, we had a ship that struck the old bridge that's going into the Port of Brunswick. There's a vehicle bridge there, and it was an old style lift bridge with the big towers, and the deck of the bridge would raise up, but it was very narrow for the ship traffic. And the couple incidents, one of them was very bad. There were some folks who lost their lives that night, who were parked up on the bridge waiting for the ship traffic. The ship struck, the ship had a mechanical issue, and it struck. The name of the ship was African Neptune, and it struck the support system on the ship, and part of the deck collapsed, and there were some people lost their lives that night. And after that's kind of the accident that started now to get the large fixed span bridge that we have now going into the Port of Brunswick. Well, some of you have probably seen some of the videos. Christine, yeah, the propeller shaft was actually removed, and that was pulled out by Don John when they were on the operation. The propeller, the rudder, the rear lifting deck, that articulating deck that they use at port for loading and unloading, the propeller and the shaft were all removed from the Golden Ray very early on in the operation. That happened many months ago. So those propeller shaft is no longer in play. And actually in section 7 where they're cutting is forward of the engine. So really no propeller shaft. There's no part of the drive line, if you will, forward of the engine. And so it's not there. It's not a factor. But what it is inside of that ship, the engine has to be attached to something. And that attachment area, which is typically called the engine bed on a ship, that bed is really strong. There's a lot of steel in it, and that's what's really giving them a fit going through it. They're having a really hard time cutting through that stuff. They did get the fuel was drained off the ship to the point. I don't know if is that any better, guys? Can you see me still? I'm not sure if it works any better. Wind's coming up now and kind of changing the angle of this boat again. I'm going to try to turn the wheel back where we can get the BB back in sight here. They did pull the fuel off. They brought fuel barges in and they pumped everything off of it, with the exception of the trunk line, which runs and ties all those tanks together and takes that fuel to the engine. They could never get to that trunk line because of the amount of debris, cars flipped over on their side, stacked up on one. They couldn't get to that. The original plan was once Don John, the original guys, were going to pull the cars out, and then once they could access that area, get it down, hot tap it, pump it out, and get all that fuel out of that thing. And it's got some nasty stuff in it. It's some of that bunker fuel, some of that real heavy black crude stuff. And from what we've been told, there is some of that fuel is still remaining in that line, and kind of runs the length of what's left of the ship there. So you can imagine there's quite a bit in there. Is the pilots really? We got some of the best pilots in the world that work here, navigating these ships in and out of the Port of Brunswick and through the channel, and they have not been hampered with the Golden Ray. The Golden Ray was intentionally pushed where it is right after it rolled over to prevent it from blocking the channel. That's why it wound up in such a shallow area. If the ship had gone down where it originally rolled over, yeah, the channel would have been blocked and the Port of Brunswick would have been shut down pending the removal of the ship. It would have just shut down everything. But there was some quick thinking folks there that night, and they said, hey, we got to get this thing out of the channel. And so they got the tugs back out here, and the tugs got on it, and the Moran tugs pushed it up onto the south bar where it wound up today. And that's the reason it is where it is. A lot of people think it ran up onto the sandbar and turned over. It's not the case at all. It was pushed up there intentionally to keep from blocking the channel and shutting down port operations in Brunswick. Hope that answers your question there. Yeah, the wind is picking up. It's starting to cap out here a little bit. We're starting to get a little bit of wind. Yeah, rough weather is coming soon. Yeah, Ed, I wish I was up at the half shell with you. Yeah. Great place. Enjoyed going in there. Why are they not removing the cars from the stern? Well, I think right now the operation is focused on getting the cutting chain back underneath there, and that may be a timing. It may be a timing thing with them, that they don't want all that activity because there's the cranes involved. There's a lot of stuff going on two sides of the ship, and to operate. Because what we saw when they took them off this section too, there's another crane that would be working in close proximity, helping pull those cars out along with the grabber. Maybe that's the reason they're not working on any of the cars. And from the pictures we're seeing, there are a few cars that looks like they can access, but that huge engine is right there above the keel, and it seems to take enough of the space that you really, to try to get in there and pull those cars out would be pretty difficult to do with the engine obstruction. Or you can get a few of them out, I agree, but maybe we'll see that. They Unified Command told us when they started this that they were doing it in an effort to do some weight shedding, to help get some weight. You got to understand the amount of sediment that's in this water here in coastal Georgia. It doesn't take long for water, once it slows down, for this stuff to settle, and I'm sure this ship is full of it. We've seen pictures of the Golden Ray when it was brought out, and the cars were left there, and the silt that's running out onto the deck of the barge, and the silt that was running out of the cars that we saw on the car barge, that adds weight. It adds weight to the calculations and the capacity of the BB-10,000. This, as big and as brutal as this thing is, it has its limitations. You put a lot of steel on it, and you add a lot of silt, it could really add to the weight of it. So I don't know. I don't have an answer for why they haven't started pulling cars out of the back right now, other than it might hamper the operations that they have ongoing now with divers that are maybe under the ship trying to work on that chain and that realignment system. If a car drops and it falls, is it going to grab a diver in any of his lines, or it just seems there's some inherent dangers there with all that other stuff going on, that maybe the pulling cars out was kind of put on the back burner. I don't know, it's just a guess, a hypothesis, just thinking out loud here. It's kind of what we do on the show. Let's see, you're trying to catch back up here. No, every section that's lifted will go into Port of Brunswick. It's got to go into Port of Brunswick to be secured for that trip. They get it over there, get stabilized, get as much of the silt cleaned up, try to clean up the site as much as they can. Anything that's pending as far as loose cars that may be hanging out of it, those are taken down in an effort to make the voyage a little safer. So yeah, everything that gets cut will go into Brunswick and be dealt with before it leaves and heads over to Gibson, Louisiana. Well, hey Texas, we're glad you're here with us from the Gulf Coast over there. We got a lot of your folks are here, and they're working on the site, working on getting the ship out of here, and we appreciate all their efforts. The incredible amount of sacrifices they made away from home, families, being locked in a bubble, not being able to get out and enjoy beautiful coastal Georgia. They're kind of, not that the Methodist Center on St. Simon's Island isn't beautiful. It's probably as far as accommodations go for what these guys are doing, it's the best you could possibly get. But we know that they're making a lot of sacrifices. It's good to have the Texas Gulf Coast here with you. Appreciate you. You think the chain needs some bite to it? Possibly. I don't know. I don't know what that would entail to engineer a linked chain with more of a cutting surface on it. I'm sure it could be done. I mean, we put a man on the moon. We might very well be able to come up with something like that. Just I'm not sure of the engineering that would go into making something like that work. We know the chain works. We got 2 sections of this thing out of here. It's just we need to keep working on the engineering and get this thing figured out to finish the job and get it pulled up out of the water and have it moved on. Does that ship have a septic tank in it? You know, I think all those environmental issues on the ship, whether it be fuel, oil, hydraulic fluid, any of that stuff has been thought of and addressed. And if there is a holding tank on the ship, which makes sense, I'm sure that was addressed as well. It's one of those things you don't really hear about. Good question for Unified Command on that. I am not sure. And it was, you got to also understand, I think that was a South Korean flagship, the Golden Ray. Their rules may be different from ours as far as ship construction. A lot of different factors that play into that to understand, which I should know, but I don't. Sorry. Oh my gosh, have we lost the string? I should do a 10-hour sound video of the boat and waves with the Golden Ray in the background and listen to this. That's pretty good. I wish I was more entertaining. Maybe I'll get a top hat and a cane and we'll start doing a little dance out here. Sorry. Yeah. It's something that is relaxing about water and listening to these sounds. Yeah, I think that the silt that accumulates, it's going to add weight, and it could very possibly add more weight. You know, weight's been added to the ship. The lugs that were manufactured and put on top of the ship, they've added weight to the ship, which they factored all that in. But the unknown is how much silt is accumulating. And every day here, the tide comes in and out twice. So that water's constantly moving in and out of the ship. It's depositing more silt, it's getting thicker, and that means it's getting heavier. It could very well play into, that's why they were doing the pre-drilling. They're trying to alleviate some of that weight when the ship starts to pull up. They can try to get some of that weight shed as it comes up. Let's stay away from that holding tank. That's for sure. Still streaming. Very interesting. Thank you. All right. The question is, have I ever played Santa Claus in a mall? No, I have never played Santa Claus in a mall, and we'll leave it at that. But I do know Santa, and Santa and I are very good friends, and we have a chance to get together every Christmas Eve here on St. Simon's with the volunteer fire department here. So yeah, never in a mall, but I know Santa quite well. Thanks. Y'all, we are getting close out here. I have got, y'all, I gotta tell you, I just have a guy that just piped in, and it's funny we talk about the fire department. I just talked about the fire department. It's a good friend of mine. He's an old volunteer fire chief here on the island. He's since moved away, but he follows the channel, and we're going to have him and a couple other guys on one day when all this is done. And one of the stories that we're going to talk about is the voyage of GCFD 393, and that was an old amphibious vehicle that the fire department used to have, and the volunteer staff. The last voyage of 393 is a very interesting story, and we're going to share that with you guys here on the channel when all this is said and done, and we've got some time. We're going to drop that on you. But hey, Haney Long, it is great to have you on board. Thank you. Well, Mike, hey, good night to you, and thanks for joining us from the UK. We appreciate it. We're probably going to be winding this thing up here shortly because I really got to get some video. I got to get a video camera out here, and I wish I could get the camera outside. You guys probably can't hear this. Is that too much wind? But this thing is rocking and rolling out here. It is. It's popping and banging right now. We know that chain's making headway, and we can really see that the angle on the inshore side, or what would be the left-hand side. Let me try to get this camera over here where you guys. The only thing about being live on YouTube is I can't zoom in to see this thing, but. It's just I'm trying to look at this on the screen, and I apologize. There's no zoom capability here with the operation. Can't get it in any tighter. But the angle is really increasing now. I don't think it's going to be very long tonight before we see that chain pop through. We got to get some cameras. We got to reposition the boat and get set up for that. Hey, I want to thank everybody for joining us here tonight live. We're going to try to bring you some more. Doggone, I wish we had a better camera so we could see this thing up close. It's really something now. It shouldn't be long, but we can get in there a little tighter with the video camera, so hopefully we'll get some of that for you guys, and we'll have that for you hopefully in the morning. Maybe we'll see this section 2 hanging from the VB. I'm excited, guys. It's getting ready to happen. All right, that's going to be it for now, and thanks for joining us, and it's been pretty awesome. I appreciate everybody's comments and kind of joining us instead of saying this. Thanks. We'll be back with you.